Good morning. I am Eli Juicy Jones. This is Orbital Vaping Headquarters. This morning, we're going to tweak some builds. We vape on all kinds of stuff, and you guys shouldn't be afraid to open them up, get in there and fix them up, and then they'll be perfect. Nothing ever happens exactly right the first time unless you practice. So anyway, stick around. We are going to hang out and do that today. I'll show you a few things. I'm also going to show you a tip for getting your RTAs apart, which can be kind of a pain. It's VapeAM, Saturday morning, and we're gonna rebuild some stuff, and we're gonna talk about vaping. It's gonna be awesome Saturday today. Good morning. I am Eli Juicy Jones, and this is Orbital Vaping Headquarters. We're high in orbit above Seattle, Washington, and we're here helping everybody get old and not die of cancer. That's our goal here, is to understand the science of vaping and the mechanics of how it works, and to help people quit smoking and to build a community. Thanks to everybody who tuned in here. James, Corey, Michaela, Plum, David, everybody. Dude Mang, it's great to see you. Good morning. And other people will file in. This is a live show every morning, every Saturday morning, and every Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock. And it is also on replay, so you can also catch this any old time. And it's approximately an hour long. But we usually cut it to be a little bit shorter, and I'll typically do the dense stuff and the talking in the beginning, and then we have a hangout at the end. So good morning to everybody. This morning I want to talk about RTAs and stuff. I know that people ask me all the time about little tips for RTAs, and God, I have this thing screwed in. Little tips for RTAs and how to get them to function better. And I just have a few little tips for you guys today involving getting these things apart. I'm going to focus on this. Disassembling them and then tweaking them just to squeeze a little bit better vape out of them. Should never be afraid to open up your gear and try again, because when we do things, a lot of the time we end up doing it and it's a little bit weird, has a dry hit. Sometimes they can pop, they can have dry hits, they can maybe leak, they can do all kinds of stuff. So we're going to make a couple of modifications to these down here. Even though there's nothing actually wrong with them, I can show you some examples of stuff that actually does go wrong with these things. I didn't actually do them wrong to show you how to do them wrong, how to fix them, but I can tell you how it works there. Sometimes you get things like popping, and popping comes from when you're vaping. Occasionally, I'll use an RDA to illustrate here. When you're vaping, sometimes while you're doing it, you see that the e-liquid is coming in from the cotton into the coils from the sides here as slowly as it can from the reservoir. And what's happening is that when it pops, what you have is that the cotton is not coming in contact with the coil. And so when you have popping that happens in your vape, in your RTA or RDA, it doesn't matter which one, when you have popping, what you got to do is get in there and just rewick and fill in the entire inside diameter of this so that the cotton is actually touching 360 degrees inside the inside of that. And that is quite simply almost always the cause of popping. And so the answer to that is all you got to do is get in there and rewick, fill in the inside diameter of that thing. Also, I want to thank James Rivera for reminding me to tell everybody to make sure that you click like and subscribe on these videos if you like them. And if you don't like them, click unlike, downvote. That's fine with me too. It doesn't affect anything on YouTube. So that's great. David Harms asks if they're flavor pops. No, they're not. They're not flavor pops. Also, sometimes you'll get in here and these guys will be leaking out the outside. This one is not going to be much of a leaker. But a lot of times when you find them and they leak, it's because you're not getting, ooh, got a little skin on there. It's because you're not getting sufficient plugging of the air of the juice flow holes. So in this case, if this were leaking, it would be because the juice, this cotton here that's covering up this hole here, is not completely full. When you're doing your cotton, remember that you want it to fill up the diameter of these devices. I'll try to bring the light a little closer. You want to fill up the inside diameter of the device, but you don't want it to be plugged up because air has to go through there to replace the water that's gone in. I'll bring the focus up a little bit. We'll just do that. And so if you're experiencing leaking, typically the thing to do is to come in and rewick and then make sure that these right here are filled up but not plugged. If they're plugged up, you'll end up getting dry hits, but that's how you'll know that you've gone a little bit too far in the other direction. You'll notice how these are just filling it up just exactly right, but there's plenty of room for air to get back out of there in those things. This is a good segue to go into our third problem with these things. And I'm not trying to be comprehensive at all. In fact, if you guys in the audience have suggestions, or even if you in the replay have things that we didn't think about, make sure that you shout out and say hi and write it in the comments. Also, I want to remind everybody we're going to do a drawing for some more Texas Stuff giveaway, but it's going to be Wednesday instead of today. I did the math wrong last Wednesday. I told everybody that it was going to be today, and I'm sorry. Nice. And so the other thing that goes wrong is that sometimes they have dry hits. When you have dry hits, I can give you an example of an atomizer that might. This is a super sub-ohm tank. Oh, Plum C007 just said he got the Van Gogh Vape sour belts and cannoli, and he loves them. Got them shipped to England too. That's fantastic. I just want to tell you guys that this build has been in here for weeks, and look how good it looks. If you're getting dry hits, what that means is that you typically have too much cotton in the inside diameter of this thing. And so if it's plugged up in there really tight, or if these things aren't allowing enough juice to come in, then you can replace it. So it's, again, the thing to do is rewick if you're getting dry hits. In the extreme, dry hits can continue happening if you just have the wrong build on there. So this one is fine because we have sufficient air and sufficient juice flow to the coil to make it vape as a machine overall. But sometimes you'll have too much coil in there. Like I wouldn't put this into the Anakin Aries, because this juice flow in the Anakin Aries is never going to be able to keep up with this, and this one is a little higher. You can see that it's got a larger diameter holes, and 4 of them, and huge airflow to make sure that this vaporizes correctly. And so if you're getting dry hits, come in and check your wicking here and make sure that you have wicking that isn't too tough for the juice to get through. As you can see here, the juice is having no problem getting into all 4 of these perfectly well, and I have them plugged up just so they're plugged. It doesn't matter very much how much extends out the bottom. What's important is that they just take up that space and they send the juice up to there. We are going to tweak this. Let me grab my tweezers. Oh, which have disappeared off the desk. No, they haven't. You guys who were doing your Juicy Jones bingo, you don't get to scratch off one today because I actually have my tweezers here. You see how those are a little bit uneven? There's a little bit of cotton from last week's Wednesday's episode. You see how there's a little bit more cotton on this side than that side? I'm just going to grab this and pull it through, and I mean just the tiniest bit. And then I'm taking my dental tool. This is a tweak. I'm going to take a look at what happened on that side. It went a little short. And on this side, it went a little bit long. So I'm going to just put it back where it was. Sort of split the difference, actually. And then I'm just making sure that those little reservoirs are actually filled up. And now we'll stick this thing back on here. And you notice that I've cleared the threads all the way around there, so the threads aren't going to be sticking with the cotton. That's key. I'm twisting the wrong way here just to make sure the threads go in. There we go. So I found it. Now we're in. So I made a tweak of this, and I held it upside down to make sure that the e-liquid didn't come out. Just giving it a little bit of a twist. Go back up to the top and I'll vape on this a little bit. What has batteries in it, y'all? Oh, the Avenger. Hello, iJoy. Hello, iJoy. It's not working. Hello, iJoy. Power high. 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 Kind of a pain, huh? There's voice control for you. Oh, the batteries are dead. No wonder. Did you guys notice that and I didn't? On the broadcast? That's no problem. We have 2700s falling out of the sky around here. If you guys aren't on the 2700 bandwagon, make sure that you do. Get on it. Get on it quick. 2700s are awesome. Negative. Positive. There it is. And it's working well. Hey, Gary, great to see you. We have Gary 58's Winch. New to chat, longtime fan. Morning, all morning, everybody. It's great to see you. I'm so glad you could tune in live. So that tweak went swimmingly well. If you notice, my cotton was all evenly soaked through all the way through there. Let's look at this mouth to lung build. Let's look at this one more time. I have AZ Swag Sauce Salt Nerd in here, watermelon mint. And you see how I just turned it upside down and unscrewed it. And we can tweak this build any old way that we want to. I can take my dental tool, rewick it. This one actually I'm pretty happy with because as you can see, just like the other one, I've filled up this inside space. We're not interfering with the threading. And I've gone in and made sure there's enough room for air and e-liquid to come through here at the same time, in and out. This is a mouth to lung build, and mouth to lung builds are typically 24 gauge. This one's a 24 gauge 7 wrap. And this one is going to mount to lung builds generally operate at lower wattages and have reduced airflow. And what that gives you is typically a warmer, higher nicotine vape. This is 50 nicotine strength in here, this salt nic. And yes, I said that right, 5% nicotine. So this is for mouth to lung, low wattage vaping only. But this little 14 gauge wire, I have it in here at 20 watts, and it vapes absolutely fantastic when you have the air open. Hey, Tofile Woods White, great to see you. New name in the chat. What's my thoughts on the Captain PD270? I love the Captain PD270. Great mod. Definitely run, buy it. In fact, you'll notice I have a bunch of iJoy on my desk. This is my favorite right now, which is the iJoy Capo 216. It's two 2700 batteries and a squonker. Let me move my focus back a little bit. So there's my Capo 216. Here is the 2 battery Wismec 21700. This is a great mod. Here is the iJoy Avenger with voice control. Hello, iJoy. Hello, iJoy. Hello, iJoy. Music mode. Music mode. Music mode. Lights on. I can never get this thing to work. Oh, there it is. It worked. It worked. Here's the diamond, which I love the diamond. It's great. It's a 2700 cell. I have videos for all these. If you check here in the channel. I forgot how to open it. It's on the bottom. They put on the wrong side. Double 2700 on that little guy. Also, this is the Blade 21700 mod. The Blade is fantastic. If you're looking at the Captain, look at the Blade too, because the Blade is inexpensive and great. But it's large. Oh, it looks like Gary says he got his Capo 216 with his, and he's got his Cali on it, which is great. So the big lesson for today is, and here's my Cali, and there's my Capo 216, looks killer. My big lesson for today is don't be afraid to open these things up and tweak them. Just do not be afraid to do that. You see this guy down here? Here's my Cali. It's got a big fat single coil in it from Jason Coil and Tin. Thank you, Jason Coil and Tin. See where the focus is. And this thing doesn't really need much. It's got the cotton in there. I'm going to switch this to a double here pretty soon with him. But get in there and take these out. Put them back in. That's just some dirt sugar that's caramelized from the outside of the actual. I keep showing off towel number 1. Those are my drip tips from Jeremy Fuchs. They're so fantastic. These things look totally great. That's what I've been vaping on. Brady said the 216, the Cali, what? So I'm Eli Juicy Jones. For those of you who just tuned in, we've been here for probably 20 minutes. And this is Orbital Vaping Headquarters, VapeAM, Saturday morning. And we're just sitting here tweaking builds and talking about building and rebuilding. There's Green Chronic 94, great to see you. Gary 58 Winch, great to see you. So glad you came in. We got a bunch of new names. I'm so stoked about that. Hey, Plum C007. He's been vaping about 2 months, has loads of juice. Hard to find a good one, but that Van Gogh is unreal. It's totally true. I agree. Thanks for buying that stuff. Got a Geek Squad, Geek Vape G-Box with a drop RTA. And got a Squonk Pin. It's lovely. That's so great. Yeah, the G-Box and the Capo are quite a bit alike. These things are so great. I'm so glad you quit smoking. You've only been vaping a couple of months. I wanna address something too. I saw an alarming article on the Washington Post this week about the Juul and how the Juul is going to lead to unprecedented teen smoking, and it's just absolutely not true. Remember, y'all, that that vaping is about harm reduction, and the Juul being widely available and visible to everybody, all that means is that people who were going to smoke before are in there, and they are trying the Juul instead. Don't forget that there is no evidence that smoking is going up. Kids are not turning from Juuls to cigarettes. That's not happening. But somehow the world and the press and everybody else in the world has created this nonsense that young people are going from Juuls to cigarettes. The only reason people go from Juuls to cigarettes is when you make Juuls illegal. If you make vaping illegal, yes, they turn to cigarettes because they were going to try cigarettes anyway. When I went to college, I remember this very well. I've told the story on the channel before. I remember very well going to college and looking around and seeing so many smokers, especially in the fraternities, at all those beer bashes and parties and all-night beer. Oh, so much drinking happened when I was in college. And I remember very well that there was tons of smoking, and everybody, even the ones who were quitting, were saying, oh, well, I just wanted to, I'm just trying it. I only do it when I drink. But the thing is, they're using Juuls now, and that is way better for you. I don't know if you ever woke up after one of those cigarette parties at the beer binges the next morning, but you feel like you drank a volcano. I don't care what happens, but if these kids in college are drinking and smoking, and they're not using Juuls, then if they're smoking rather, then they're harming themselves. And so if they're switching to Juuls, it's a good thing. Hey, thank you so much. Gary's 58 Switch sent $5 to the channel. I really appreciate it. Everything that you guys send here through the super chat system and everywhere else goes straight into coils and other stuff. And so I really appreciate that. It's really great to see you, and it's nice to see a new name. It's really great. Thanks, Gary. And so all of these little mouth to lung devices. In fact, I have a whole bunch of these on the desk. I've got one of these here from Joytech. I need to move that focus back, don't I? That's like crazy close. Here's a little Joytech job, the Exceed. Here are the Killer kits from Innokin. That's the Easy Watt. It's the T20 kit. Here's the Killer Breeze. Love this thing from Aspire. Absolutely freaking fantastic. These little kits are great for quitting. Yum. It's delicious. The answer to this conundrum is education. The problem is that the government has been solely educated by, it isn't the government's fault, it's solely educated by the money interests from the tobacco lobby. So we need to make sure that we educate them the correct science. England is helping quite a bit, creating real studies, and we're getting better and better studies every day. Hey, thanks so much. I got 2 pounds from Plumber 2. That's so nice of you. I really appreciate that. All of you guys are the best. I really appreciate that. I like how it sends a little color chat too. You guys are great. And let me show you how to open your RTA. Brady is asking me to make sure that I show everybody how to open your RTA. I promised to show you guys this last week, and I didn't do it, and I will do it this week. This is a super easy trick. When you're taking RTAs apart, sometimes you'll notice that some of them have this sandwich style where the cap comes off, but the glass and the stem are built into one piece. And sometimes you want to take these apart, and it can be difficult. You can be cranking on it and it might not open, and you can cut your thumb, like I cut my thumb right here on one. I cut my thumb right here on this RTA right on the bottom, trying to get it apart like that. So I have a trick for this, and it's super easy. What you do is you take a pair of pliers, and you'll notice these things always have a cross member up on top here. And so if you don't want to mangle anything or use rubber pliers or anything, you can take a pair of pliers and go into the top, right to where these two things meet. You see there, we're not really touching anything that touches any other part. So if I scratch this a little bit, or do a little bit of damage, which we're not going to do, by the way. It's not going to affect any moving part as long as you don't mess up the threading right there. So I put my pliers in there just a little bit, just looking here. And then I put my finger inside here. If you put your finger inside here, and sometimes you have to take a paper towel, get our pliers on there, and stick your finger inside there, and you can turn this. And very often, make sure it's dry, and very often you'll get this thing loose, and you'll see that there it is, it's loose. It came loose. And don't lose the parts. So this is where we came apart. And when you put it back together, always put it back together from the top down when you're doing glass. So put the glass in like this. Get those things secure. Then set the glass back down on there. Turn it. And then you don't have to go as tightly as you did before, but you can take your pliers again and turn it. There we go. That's tight enough. So that's good enough. That's a little tip I use, or a little trick I use to get my RTAs apart. A lot of people have trouble with that, and that can be really frustrating. I know how it is. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that is helpful. Yeah, that is fun. I told everybody I would give you that tip last week, and I forgot, and I'm really sorry. So I'm vaping on my Aries by Inikin, which is a mouth-to-lung tank from Phil Basardo and Vape in Greek, Dimitri. Hey, Mike the Bassist. It's great to see you. Mike the Bassist was my first subscriber 3 years ago on this channel. Isn't that great? It's great to see you, man. I hope you're having a great time. You'll notice, Mike the Bassist, that today is a beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest. Gorgeous. Super great. Let's see, what else do I have? This, like I said, is what I've been vaping on the most lately, which is my Capo 216. The double 2016 2700 mod. With a screen that is not very bright. Look at that. You can't see it, but I can. It says 99.5. And it's a squonker. If they made the screen brighter and maybe change the insulator around the button. These buttons I'm not quite sure of. One of mine failed. So if it goes on auto fire, it has to be serviced. But this is my favorite mod right now. Just great in the hands. Super good. I'm also vaping on the Avenger, which I put everything on the Avenger. I'm vaping on the Blade, which gets insane battery life. I got the Mace tank on here. 80 watts. It's not really an 80 watt tank, but all right. Hey, Dr. Dolphy, great to see you. Michaela Vapes is saying that she just got her Pulse 80 watt in the mail, the Vandy Vape one, and she loves it. That's great. I can't wait. I'm going to get mine. It was supposed to be here last night. Today's episode was going to be the Pulse 80 watt, but no, it'll be here whenever. Flame Langle wants to know if a 30 millimeter will fit in the blade. I'm pretty sure it will. Let me find something that's 30 millimeter. I don't think I have anything that's that big. I've got something that's 25. Got something slightly larger. Whoops. The problem with the blade is that it's bezeled right here and it falls over. But they're not very expensive. See, this is 28. This is a 28 millimeter atomizer. Yeah, that works. Yeah, it's close. Yeah, they fit on, but they start getting front heavy. As you can see. Hey, Weird Will, great to see you. Hey, Tommy V, great to see you. And Brady points out that, yeah, the blade's only $40, and he's absolutely right. For $40, it's hard to pass on this one. It's lightweight, and I think 30 would be the maximum you could put on here. I wish I had a 30 sitting on the desk. I just don't. I'm sorry. I feel embarrassed. I'm like, oh, wow, shouldn't I have that? But I don't. Let's put the Cali on it. Whee! Cali. Do this. Everyone knows I love this thing. I'm gonna look that up. Look at the exact size. Oh yeah. So that's 26, isn't it? 25. So I think 30 would be pushing it. Because if that's a 30, if that's a 25, 30 is going to fit, but barely. You see how 25 goes right to the edge? It's going to overhang. You go much further. A little bit further than that. Oh, I love the Cali. And our buddy Praetorian says the 30 will overhang. Yeah, definitely. Gary says he can't get the bottom off his Revo. That is so tricky. I'll give you a little tip to getting the bottom off the Revo. And let me find one. Here's a Revo. To get the bottom off, and this is going to be tricky because I have the actual Revo filled up. But the trick to getting the bottom off the Revo is leave the top on. Or no, that's not the trick. What am I saying? That's when you put it back on. Is I push down from the top on these. I grab a paper towel, and I push down on there, and I push up with this. Twist. Oops. Green Chronic is asking if I have the RDTA5 by iJoy, and yes, I do have the iJoy RDTA5. In fact, I think I did an episode on that. You might search Juicy Jones HQ iJoy. I hope I tagged it. If not, I'll look around. You can look through the list. See, it did finally come off there. And once you get this off, the other trick is do not tighten it very tightly after that. I just sort of finger tighten it. I'm done. But that can be tricky, definitely. But opposite force is the only thing I know to do on this thing. And it works okay. I use this on my Squawker too, and it works great. I love this thing on my Capo 216. Absolutely love it. It is so convenient. It's only got a 2 mil tank, but it's perfectly convenient because you glance down there and you're like, oh, I need to squeeze more e-liquid in there. And so you squeeze enough e-liquid up into the Revo just to make it was fully empty when I did this, up into the Revo just to make sure that it's got a big bubble in it. That's what you want. You want to have a big bubble. Just like that. You don't want to fill it all the way up. Love this. Don't vape it with no air. Yum. And speaking of the iJoy RDTA5, you know what? The iJoy RDTA5 is in my Hall of Shame. I'm not kidding. It's right there in the Hall of Shame. Get a view up. I'll try to get the other camera going. It's funny. Yeah. I need a Hall of Shame cam. Yeah. I've got one right here. Let's see. And it's not working, unfortunately. Yeah, too bad. I can't show you. But yeah, the RDTA5 is in there. There it is. Hall of Shame. And I'll tell you why it's in the Hall of Shame. I'll tell you exactly why. You can't get this to work, right? It's because the inside of that is just too much metal going on. Mine doesn't taste like metal, but it just doesn't work very well. This thing is just asking for trouble. It just doesn't work that great. I think it's just a mistake. Just a big mistake. Big mistake. That's a great drip tip, though. You have a there's a note from the viewers. Plum C 007. I have a box of shame juices. Yeah, so do I. Definitely. Oh, it has a great drip tip that you can't use on anything because it's one of these. Oh gosh, guys. So the iJoy RDTA 5 is so lame. So lame. I don't like that thing. Somebody in the Discord got the RDTA from .mod this week, which I really want one of those. It's really cool. So what is this? It is Saturday morning. It's almost time to go, guys. So remember that Juuls are fine. This is about harm reduction, and what we need to do is take steps to make sure that kids are educated about not trying nicotine, and that it's an old thing that old people used, and Juuls are for helping people quit. That's the thing to do. Also, everybody make sure you join us at West Coast Vape Expo. We're going to be there. Click on like and subscribe for these videos if you like them. And I'm Eli Juicy Jones. This is Orbital Vaping Headquarters, and I hope you guys learned something and had a fun hangout this morning. I love all you guys. Join us next Wednesday for another episode. It should be, or sooner, it should be, for our new Pulse 80 watt from Vandy Vape from Tony B. That thing ought to be here pretty soon. So I hope all you guys are going to come back and stick around for that. I'm going to vape out on my Revo. This is my Revo Blast. Man, when you guys get the Revo Blast, you're going to love this. A squonking Revo. So good. Love this thing so much. Catch us on Discord. Link is in the description down there. I love all you guys and have a great Saturday. Thank you.